You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Peter Marullo.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Peter, tell me a little bit about yourself and if you want what you do professionally.
Well, I am originally from Pennsylvania and then spent a large chunk of time in Florida and have been up in the Boston area for about 12, 13 years now. And I split my time professionally between helping run a video and business marketing agency. And I am also the singer of a punk rock band called Protagonist.
Okay. I'm from Maryland. I'm from the East Coast too. I'm from Ocean
I,
City.
I, I, I could tell the way you said coast.
Oh, yeah. I see. There's the accent, man. I got like that Baltimore twang, is what they call it. Like you say Tuesday, and then you say Monday,
Yep.
and then some people put ketchup on their eggs. Are you one of those people?
I do put ketchup on my eggs. I do.
That's disgusting. All right, but no, what do you like see the most, I guess you would say? You moved around a lot too, but with the music thing, do you want to own your own like video marketing thing, or are you trying to dive more into the music realm?
I mean, definitely the video stuff is like my full time gig, but I mean, I've been in Protagonist over half my life now. I joined when I was 17 in the year 2001, and my actual blood brothers in the band and my best friends are in the band. So I mean, that's kind of full time in heart and head, even when we're not like full time touring or recording.
Why protagonist?
Like, why the name Protagonist?
Yeah, why the name protagonist?
Um, you know, kind of funny story is that my brother came up with my brother's the founder of the band, and a friend of his in high school, he was telling her that he had a friend that lived far away who was starting a band, and they wanted to do a split 7 inch together. And she said, it would be so cool if a band called Protagonist and a band called Antagonist did a split 7 inch together. And so my brother got the name that way, from the friends pretty sharp idea, which never came to fruition, but it gave us probably what I think, and it's obviously probably biased, but one of the coolest band names to have.
Well, it's so weird because it depending on whatever style of music you have is really you can make a really good name for it. Like if you're gonna make a reggae band, you just call it something like Beach Vibe Chill or something. And then if you have like a punk rock band, you could just go as hardcore as ever. It's like slammed my finger in a door or something like that. Like shit that has a bit of like edge or pain to it. I always talk about like usually like if you deal with like heavy metal or if you deal with something like punk rock, it's got a bit of like flavor to it. Like
Yeah.
heavy metal is usually like burning corpses of iron. It's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? But even with the band protagonist, like all you do is sing in the band.
Yeah, I mean, I sing, write lyrics, and I do a lot of stuff that's like band management. I also help manage, friends' bands and bands that are getting off the ground. So that keeps me busy. I also fool around with, well, I don't want to say fool around. That makes it sound like I'm like talking it down, but I've been making a documentary film with a friend for close to a decade about a mutual friend that's a Holocaust survivor who lives in South Florida. So we're actually, I believe, nearing production on or post production on that this year is the goal. So,
Well,
um,
I wasn't trying to belittle it by saying singing, but for a lot of people, like usually it's like singing and playing an instrument. Like I have good vocals, I like to think. I like to sing in the shower at times, but I've been influenced by a lot of like music growing up as well. And actually, I was wondering, what is your musical influence? Like, how do you go to starting a punk rock band? I would say to like what brought you there? Was it Green Day? I feel like a lot of that time period back then. You're not too much older than me. Green Day was the era of music.
yeah, for us, definitely Nirvana is the band for sure. I was 9 years old when In Utero came out. My older brother was 11 years old, and I remember going to the record town in the Exton Square Mall in Exton, Pennsylvania, and going to pick up that audio cassette the day it came out. So I mean, and that hugely influenced my brother. And I mean, even a couple weeks ago, it was his birthday. He just turned 38 years old, and I got him the I got him like a Nirvana record for his birthday. And I even wrote a note that here's like a timeless record that we've always enjoyed. And he uh he uh, he understood the sentiment of the gift.
Yeah, even though if you don't have a record player to actually play the thing, which is kind of strange because now you're seeing them be sold in like Costco and stuff. People are selling like old
Yeah.
school record players that have like Bluetooth on it so you can listen to those vinyl records. Like I have a whole line of them in my room just posted up on the wall from like Meatloaf to all these things that you can get at a thrift store for like 25 cents. Even if the record doesn't work, it's still amazing art that's on the cover of it. That's what really brought you into a song was when you had a nice album that like, if you didn't know the band, but had a really badass cover to it,
Yeah.
like, the art
I mean,
behind it
I think
was
artwork is extremely important, still is, because it's just, if someone's browsing through records or they're, crate digging or flipping through and, something grabs them. I mean, it happens to me, it happened to me the other day. I was at a record store up near me, Welfare Records in Haverhill, Massachusetts. And I was with my buddy Charlie, and we were just flipping through stuff. And I, walked out with a pile of records. Things just grab me. I'm friends with the band Less Than Jake, and I've been a fan of Less Than Jake for a long time. And they had a record that I just wasn't familiar with. It had like Japanese writing on the front, and it was a compilation of old tracks. And I picked it up, and I was sending the band members pictures of it, and I was just like genuinely excited to see that record just kind of pop pop up through flipping through stuff.
well, you said you're fans with, or you're friends with, Less Than Jake. That's a really, really popular, band, at least in my eyes too, even though they're not as popularly known as, like, you would see, like, Lil Nas or something that has, like, a one-hit single, but, dude, fucking Sell Out, that song, I was listening to that like crazy, like, I mean, I saw them open up for The Expendables, I saw them play a few times. My parents work in radio, so I got to go, like, backstage and meet everything too, but music is just so freaking powerful, dude, when it comes to even the art behind it, but also how it just captures the way you feel.
Yeah, and Less Than Jake specifically, I think is a band that's always been able to capture that. Um,
They're just normal. That's the weird thing about them is that usually when you see a band like them that's been around for so long, it's the same thing with Slightly Stupid. They didn't let the fame go to their head. How many times does someone create a song, hit the number one charts, the next thing you know, they go batshit crazy, start spending money everywhere, and then they're too good for people. It's like I like those bands that seem normal. Like I reached out a while ago when I was doing the podcast to Howie Spangler, who my parents helped him kind of get on the radio and everything. And then he did my podcast. And it was just amazing because you wouldn't think that someone that's like with a popular reggae band like that, that would just come out and waste an hour of their time or whatever, just shooting the shit. But
yeah,
that's
Howie's the man. Howie's the man.
like, I never even listened to Ballyhoo at all. I even told him on the podcast, like, I have no idea what any of your music is, you know? But, like, it was just interesting, but it solidified my relationship with him where I listen to his music a lot. I like his music. I like the band because I know that there's good people behind it.
Yeah, they're a solid band. We actually played when Les and Jake did their first annual Wake and Bake. It's where they kind of do like their hometown gig in Gainesville, and it was like us, Ballyhoo, and Les and Jake. I actually have the poster hanging up.
Well, what's your most memorable concert experience? We all got one, whether it was your first one or whether it was like just one that really sticks out into your mind.
Well, in terms of playing or actually just attending a concert,
Let's say both. Like, what's one attending, and then maybe if you have a different one playing.
I would say as far as attending a concert, a couple years ago, I went to go see Metallica, and I was hooked up with like the Snake Pit passes. So I was in like basically right in front of the band, and
You
that
were
was
at Death's
probably
Door. Yeah, you were at Death's Door.
yeah, I was at the store for sure. So I mean, that was clearly memorable. I saw, a couple come to mind. I saw Nine Inch Nails on the Fragile tour. That was like I think May 19th, 2000. So that's coming up on 20 years since I saw that show, and that was absolutely incredible. And especially to see the band on that tour, I love that record. I think that record is timeless. Um, A couple years back, I flew out to San Francisco to go see the Link 80 reunion. Link 80 is a band that's still one of my favorite bands, and they did two kind of one-off reunion shows for the Asian Man Records 20th anniversary show. And that when you're in the crowd, you definitely felt like you were watching something special because a bunch of bands. It's kind of a trend now for bands to call it quits, and then 3 years later they pop up with a record and like a strategically planned tour. And this was nothing like that. This was a band that had stopped playing in 2002 and had all kind of gone different ways over the years, and had come back to sort of like reignite their songs and kind of their message. So
Well,
that
it's
was
like it's the same thing you see with like Billy Ray Cyrus. Like he was a hit back in the day, and then nobody ever heard about him. Like maybe if you saw him with like Hannah Montana or some shit. But then next thing you know, he comes out with a song where he's playing with Little Nas, and he gets immediately started back up again. Like you didn't hear anything about him, just only his daughter. And the next thing you know, bam, he's back in the limelight again. Like it's crazy to see that too, because I feel like there are some bands that were before their time, like that, like the era of when social media and everything really kicked off. I mean, just the music industry in general that you probably know marketing wise is just completely just topsy turvy switched around, and it's so weird now. Like back in
yeah,
the day,
everything Spotify, Apple Music, and playlists.
yeah, like back in the day, there was a thing called playlist.com. You get to put a bunch of songs like MySpace onto your profile and people could view them and you could listen to songs. That's when the first computer really kind of first came out. But back in the day, they were mixtapes, they were CDs, there were all these other types of things where if you went to the bus stop with a CD player, you were listening to that fucking CD. There was no going off and finding a different artist or something like the capabilities we have with our phone and Spotify. But it made you go buy the CD. It made you go buy the record. It gave you money that way. Then they had to look for a whole new avenue of revenue.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that industry, I don't want to say is dying. It's just sort of, forever changing.
I think it's going to make a flip again. I feel like it's going to end up coming back because you're seeing like a lot of millennials and like a lot of people of the new age really starting to dive back into the old things, like maybe old style clothing. And now like kids are collecting records, and now we have the vinyl records that are Bluetooth and all these other things that charge your iPhone while you're playing. Like that was never thought of back in the day, but they're just revamping the old culture. And I think it might end up swinging back to the point where like people are going to buy CDs, but not like how it was. I mean, songs were hitting the Billboard charts because of how much radio time they got or how much money was spent on each album and each sale. And now it's just like, oh, how many listens do you have? How many listens do you have on Spotify? How many listens do you have on YouTube? How many subscribers you got is what makes the charts now. I'm like, damn, like it's really really hard for a band that doesn't have like that doesn't really sell out, to quote less than Jake, because you can easily create a top hit just with a couple notes and then something that's really catchy like the fucking uh what's that cat jingle, the meow 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 meow, like you
Yeah.
could create something like that in a song and it would be so catchy it would hit number one charts, but it wouldn't last, it wouldn't be up there for very long. You just get that fame, like Megan Trainor, like she had All About That Bass. Then after like 6 or 7 months, you kind of heard about her. She still had her fame with some of her fans, but she wasn't as popular as she was before.
Right. It seems like, and I think this goes whether you're, like a smaller band starting out or you're, a Megan Trainer. It's just like consistent quality, being able to release stuff. I mean, especially with Spotify now, it's kind of going back to the days of, when record labels would release singles on 45s. It's like, the digital version of that. It's, you don't, the equivalent of like you and me, maybe when we were young, going to a Best Buy or something and picking up a CD. You might pay 18 bucks or 15, 18 bucks for a CD, and maybe you're buying that CD for 1 to 3 tracks, like off the bat. And I think Spotify is unique in the sense where, Spotify or digital, wherever you stream digital music, really is unique because yeah, you can go listen to that single, but then it's gonna throw this algorithm at you with maybe other songs from that band that aren't on the record, maybe you know bands that have members of the same band or have similar genre. So I mean, I think it's an interesting time for music. I know there's a lot of backlash with the royalties being paid out to bands and stuff from Spotify. But I mean, if you look at the Protagonist top cities that people listen to us from, it's a pretty interesting list. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But
Well, even when you're looking at like CDs in general, like imagine, remember, me and you can remember going to Walmart or whatever place, Best Buy, whatever you want to say, and then looking through the CD bin, looking through all the CDs, like what's this? I remember getting a Red Hot Chili Peppers CD from there. I remember getting, let's see, Avenged Sevenfold. There's that thing when you open up the CD where it shows you the song list or what the album's kind of about in the left panel part. You open that up and it would be a bunch of shit like cool art designs or graphics and stuff for you to look at. Like then you're reading the back of the CD. Now kids just have swipe on their phone and it just goes next and next and next. You don't get to have that real kind of enthusiasm of having the CD in your hands either. And then putting it into your car radio or something and just waiting for that first track to hit. I mean, there's no better like anticipation than that. It's like a present on Christmas Day.
yeah, I mean, that's what I love about records is like just like what you're talking about is just pulling out the lyric sheet. It kind of there's like two different ways. It's like I feel like listening to Spotify is what's the word? You can kind of become fully immersed in it, but I love just sitting in front of my record player, after coming home from a record store and putting on the record and just sitting there and listening to it. It's definitely a different kind of experience, a different kind of listening experience
Well, I
as
mean,
far as the consumption of like music and media.
well, even like how it is now, if you go to a concert, half the time people are on their phones recording it. I mean, you must know being a singer in front of everybody and playing these live performances that it's got to be a pain in the ass to have a bunch of phone screens pointed at you when they're not even really looking at you. They're really just looking at their phone screen at a video they're probably not going to look back. They're just going to post on their social media. I mean, I've been to quite a few concerts and it's really amazing to kind of see the crowds of people that go to certain types of music. But it seems like a lot of it's just kind of lost with these devices a little bit.
Well, it's like I think to a lot of people, it's like if you didn't put it on your Instagram story, were you even there?
Exactly. It's like,
You
oh,
know what I mean?
it's like when you see a picture of somebody on like Instagram that has a beer in their hand and it's like just to show everybody that they're partying. I'm like, the fuck, just put the beer down and take a picture with your friends or something. But if they don't have that beer, then people think, oh, you just went there and, hung out. You didn't actually drink or get crazy. What
Wild.
what's your worst concert experience?
Worst concert
Dude, I've
experience.
had one that was at a Steve Aoki concert. Now, I'm not a Steve Aoki fan, but they were free tickets, so I went. I'm a
I mean,
I'm a reggae guy. I mean, I like, the Expendables. I've met them a few times, met Pepper a few times, met Slightly Stupid a few times. Everything really reggae. I've met some kind of like hard rock bands before, but when I went to this concert, dude, you want to talk about groups of people. Now that's a fucking group of people. That audience, everybody had light up those fingerless gloves and they had the clacker balls that would light up and they were doing spin tricks in the back of the thing. I'm like, they're not even like I don't know what's happening right now. And then people were throwing cake. So I ended up standing in the bleachers and I was just looking down at all these people that looked like they were tripping on ecstasy.
yeah, I mean, that's a scene and like kind of a genre that I've never attended really like a live concert of. Not that I would be opposed to it. I'm always interested in checking shit out, but it's not exactly my cup of tea. And I think it's not the music that really totally throws me off. I think it would be the crowd that would throw me off.
It's just weird because when there's people that act a little bit differently than you or have different types of things, like me wearing like board shorts, walking into a group of people that were wearing long, skinny black jeans with like makeup on their face, eyeliner or something like, the classic emo look back in the day. That was a thing on MySpace. I mean, half those photos are still up there. So prove me wrong, people. Prove me wrong. But like, I wouldn't feel super comfortable with that just on the aspect of like, yeah, maybe I like the music, but I don't fit in into the crowd. You feel like the odd man out, it feels weird and that
Yeah,
tension's kind of there. But like going to this concert, I just looked down and saw all these people that were doing completely different things. People were wearing like these giant, like I guess suits for their head or something. It was like a helmet, but it was like in a shape of a panda, or like how Dead Mouse kind of wears that mask. And I'm like, I'm completely the odd man out here. So I just sat up in the bleacher part of it and just kind of watched from below or above.
What's your best concert experience?
My best concert experience? Ooh. My first one was really good, but my favorite one of all time was The Expendables. I don't know if you know who they are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They released a new album at the time called Starry Night. Or no, it was actually Sand in the Sky is what it was called. But they had an album release on the very first track, which was Starry Night, and I heard it months before I went to go see them in concert, and it fucking sucked. Literally, I was like, "This is a terrible song. What happened?" And it took a couple tries, and then eventually I really liked it. Like on the seventh play, I was really enjoying it. So I went to this concert and I got front row, and the singer from The Expendables and most of the band knew me from when they met me before. Like I've met them a few times, and he pointed down to me, and like the whole time we're singing, like I'm singing with the singer, kind of not on stage or anything, but just in the crowd vibing with the music. Nobody knew their new stuff, but I did. I knew every single word of it because they're my favorite band. So I was like, it doesn't matter if all their songs aren't good. I'm gonna do them the respect to at least listen to them and enjoy them. So everyone's like, just play ganja smuggling, play down, 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 like all the main ones. I'm like, I bet somebody's gonna yell out, play bowl for two, and then some dude in the background, play that song, bowl for two. I'm like, that son of a bitch. And like and you could tell they were like, we're not about playing our old stuff today. We're going to be playing our new stuff. And they were trying to get people interested into it. And that showed a lot of guts, being able to do that. And the singer pointed down like halfway through one of his songs. Everyone says Geoff, but I swear to God, it's Jeff. He just pointed down to me and was like, yo, like, I remember you. And then afterwards we talked and chatted. He's like, dude, I met you at Secrets in Ocean City. I was like, yeah, it was on my mom's radio show. And it was just that connection where I was like, damn, dude, like, that's how I know I'm going to listen to you guys forever because you guys are a good band.
Did you dig their acoustic record they put out like a year or two ago? What,
Dude,
the raw one?
oh yeah, there was Gone Soft. That was pretty good. That came out like in a long time ago, a few years ago. But then they just did a new one where they took a lot of their singles off of different albums and did it in a whole new acoustic way, like a lot of their newer stuff too. That was fucking amazing, dude. Like we want to talk about, like I'll even ask you this, is the power of music and how it can hit you on a certain vibration. Like you're going through something really, really rough in your life, or you're trying to make a song that's a good, maybe cheerful song if you have something positive. If you are able to create a song in that type of mood, it gets stained inside of the song. Like hearing the song Minimum Wage by Expendables, where it was talking about complaining and not wanting to go to a job that you have, that you just make minimum wage and you're just miserable. You don't want to get up out of bed. You just want to keep sleeping. You just want your boss to keep calling you and never answering. I went through that. I knew what that was like. And that song cheered me up when I was listening to it because it made me feel like I wasn't the only one dealing with something.
I mean, that's what it's all about,
What's that?
that connection.
Yeah, well, what types of songs do you have that you feel like you connect with the most, like out of the ones you've created?
Um, I feel like the title track of our most recent EP, Jean Jackets in June, that's one that seems to like connect with. I mean, not only me. I mean, I feel like that's biased to connect with it because I wrote it, but I mean, with people that talk to us or come up to us at shows, that seems to be the one that people want to hear. In fact, we kicked off the year down in our hometown of Fort Lauderdale with Less Than Jake and the Culture Room, and we didn't play that song because we had a 25-minute set. Like, so we kind of budgeted for a 30-minute and then had to cut some stuff, and we ended up cutting Jean Jackets because it's a little bit longer than the other songs. And as soon as I got off stage, I walked like off stage into this like little backstage green room area, and JR from Less Than Jake, it was like, put you on this show so we could hear one fucking song, and you didn't play it. So then I was like, hold on, I gotta record this. So I recorded the message of him saying it. And then I had a friend, Teresa, who had flown out from California for the show, and she was like, you didn't play Jean Jackets in June? And my girlfriend over FaceTime was like, you're not gonna play Jean Jackets in June? So that just kind of tells me right
Not
there.
that's like AC/DC not playing Dream On or some shit.
So I mean, next time we play, we'll probably definitely be playing Jean Jackets in June.
Well, all right. I can attest to that because I have went to a concert where I just wanted to hear one song. That Steve Aoki concert I went to was free tickets, but I only knew one song that I liked. And then freaking Weezer, man. That Beverly Hills song is the only one I really wanted to go hear. And they didn't play it the one time I went to them. And my brother's like, "Wasn't that an amazing concert?" And I was like, "No, because I did not hear Beverly Hills." He goes, "Dude, but they played or was it Pork and Beans? And then they had Island in the Sun." He goes, "Those are good hits too." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not Beverly Hills, man. I want to feel like a
That's
loser when I listen to a song."
funny.
Well,
I have a question for you. Tell me about your mom's radio show.
Well, my parents have been involved in broadcasting for a very long time. My dad, you probably won't know him, but Skip Dixon, he does like a lot of radio stuff down here. He owns his own station now. He went country, but those were big influences. And my mom works at Secrets, getting like live licks at 6, where a band would come in and be able to play an acoustic set before they played later that night at the show venue, just to get everybody, pumped up for the concert. And
Yeah, totally.
it's it was an amazing thing, but it was the one weird thing everyone asked me, like, "You got to meet all these bands. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, you can get free concert tickets whenever you want." I'm like, it was just so normalized to me that I never really like cared about it. You know what I mean? Like it was like,
Yeah,
oh well, it's there, but it's like if you're involved with, let's say, your dad's a famous actor or something, you're used to having all these things around you that a lot of kids don't have that would dream to have. You know, you just get normalized to it where it's like, I don't really care. Like, that whole thing. But it was amazing, like especially like she would text me like, "Hey, like I played on the radio a few times. Now I'm in no way a musician. I can manage, I would say. Like if you tell me what notes to play, I'll be able to play them." But it was enjoyable, man. Like being able to really, first of all, meet some of the people that you listen to all the time, and then maybe even meet some new bands. A lot of people are really out there trying to produce music and create something beautiful and try and get people's attention, and they do. It might not be super popular. Like I don't think anybody's going to be as popular as like Metallica or something, but there's still people out there that want to hear you sing, want to hear you do your thing and really vibe to it.
yeah. I mean, I think being that we're recording this in the middle of like a, what's being referred to as a global pandemic.
Are
I
you going to
mean,
make a song about it?
um, I'm sure there's going to be tons of music
Where
coming
the
out from
fuck's the toilet
everybody.
paper? That's what I want. Like that's the song. Where the fuck's the toilet paper and why the hell is everyone buying it?
We are premiering a song Friday. Not strategically planned in this sense, but the song's actually a cover of a Philly punk band called Violent Society, and the song is totally fucked. So that kind of, I feel like that'll resonate with people for
That's
sure.
what I love about punk music for some reason. It's just I like the names behind it. I love to think of like names for songs. Like I can't really think of lyrics. My brother was always the one that kind of did that. But when it comes to like picking a genre of music, he'd be like, "Think of this, and we're a reggae band. Think of a nice reggae song." I'm like, "I don't know, man, because I can't think of that." He goes, "What names can you think of?" I'm like, "I can think of everything from hardcore metal to whatever, like Cut My Finger or something. I don't know, just a bunch of like it's just easy shit to toss out. But they mean like perfectly, like you're listening to the song, you're like, that's exactly what this song is. And it's like, how does that work?
I think it'll be an interesting time to release music because it'll be, I think so many people are at home that I feel like it'll kind of get twice the amount of listens, which is like an interesting thing to think about,
Yeah,
you know?
that's true too. Like nobody can leave the house, so they just go on Spotify or watching Netflix. I bet you Netflix is making bank during this virus crisis.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
I
I feel like it's a conspiracy a little bit, like, HBO Go and all those people were like, "We're gonna fucking release all the comedy specials and all the good movies when this is all going on, so people will watch the shit out of it."
yeah, I mean, it's probably the best time to be releasing content. And also not I don't mean for necessarily like for selfish reasons, but just because, I think people need it right now, to be quite honest.
What's it like, being in a band with your brother?
I mean, it's great. I think I have a lot of friends who have siblings, and like they'll see their siblings at like holidays and stuff like that. And they don't seem to be really close to them. And I mean, my brother's like my rock. You know what I mean? So, and having like a shared experiences from being 0 years old till now, there's like that definitely reflects in our songs and in our collective stories and stuff. So I think it's like truly I'm truly blessed to be in a band with my bro, not only my brother but best friends too.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it totally plays an effect in the overall vibe of your concerts too. Because like, if you have a song that's kind of has maybe a hidden kind of meaning to it that maybe might mean more to you and your brother rather than most of the audience, like, but you have that connection with them. Like, there's a song by the Expendables called "Brother," which was talking about like that deep connection that brothers have or something, and it was talking about the band being that connected, and like you could hear the vibe as an audience member in that song. But like, even me playing in a band with my brother at one point, he's older than me, so I knew if I fucked up, I was getting my ass kicked. But it was fun because it was crazy because it was a bonding experience. Like, I don't think a lot of people are really never going to know what that feels like. I mean, when you're on stage and you're singing, your brother's in the same band as you playing. That's a connection. You guys are making something together. I mean, it's a great bonding experience that really kind of solidifies your relationship.
yeah, I think it's like a I don't know what the right word, but like a blessing to be creating with your blood relative, your blood brother. So definitely a special bond.
Well, do you guys find that you have a song that you guys really kind of get the meaning to? Like, you're talking about jean jackets. Is it called Jean Jackets in June?
Yeah.
It's a fucking tongue twister if I've ever heard one.
We released a song off an EP called States, and that song's called "The Stranger the Boy Became," and it's sort of, well, not sort of. I mean, it's directly about like the darker side of growing up in the suburbs of Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and so I think that one is probably the most personal song, and probably the one that me and my brother probably have like a definitely like a collective bond towards, or a collective magnetism towards, would be that song.
What was it like trying to move, at least from Pennsylvania, then going to like Boston or something? Like, do you find that was difficult and it played a factor in the way you kind of developed a style of music? Seems like with most bands, like their sound kind of depends on where they're from.
Yeah, I mean, my brother had gotten into the local punk scene shortly before we moved. So he got into bands like the Boyles and Violent Society. And on the release, we're putting out a release called Fallout from the Chronicle, and that is going to have three singles we put out last year, a couple Boyles covers, Violent Society cover, and then two acoustic versions of songs off our record, The Chronicle. And I mean, the Boyles and Violent Society are a huge part of like the DNA and the foundation of protagonists. I mean, to this very day.
You said boils of society. What do you mean by boils of society?
The band The Boyles and then the band Violent Society, who were two bands from our area in Pennsylvania that my brother really got into and was really influenced by when writing protagonist songs back in the early days of the late 1990s.
Right on. I was thinking because like your influences, when you create a band and you start writing music or doing songs, they sound so similar to the ones that you're basically influenced by. But then eventually, after you start creating more and more and more, you develop your own sound. Like, it's like tuning a guitar and then finding the right key. Then you find your own flavor, and then you vibe to that, and then you can create your own influence or something that's going to trickle down and maybe start up another band.
Yeah, I mean it's it's interesting to see a band progress. Like I have a friend right now who is listening. He tore through the entire Beatles discography with like not really being that familiar with it, and he's now tearing through the entire Rolling Stones discography like in chronological order. And it's interesting because he'll come in and be like, "Oh, I listened to Let It Bleed today," or Exile on Main Street. And it's definitely, I don't know if you've ever done that, but taking a band in chronological order, like on a road trip or something, where you have a lot of time to listen, is a pretty unique experience, pretty fun
Mostly
experience.
did that with the band 311. Mostly because like we would take these long car trips up to my grandparents' house like every weekend or most of the summer or
Where they
something.
live?
They live in Delaware, so it's about a good, like, maybe 50 or an hour drive. And I mean,
Yeah.
besides, like, before iPods were a giant thing, we listened to whatever was playing in the radio. So my brother would get CDs and bring them in the car. My grandparents actually introduced my brother to the band 311. But like I remember all those songs were coming out, just listening to them, sitting there asking him constantly, like, what's the song? What's that song? He's like, here's the CD. And I'm just sitting there looking at it. I remember it was Uplifter. It's probably one of my all-time favorite albums by them. It has like India Ink, Golden Sunlight. I think it's Golden Sunlight or Golden Sunshine. I haven't listened to it in so long, but when we talk about songs meaning something to you in a certain moment in your life, also when you listen to them now and bringing you back to a certain moment in your life. I mean, whenever I hear 311, I immediately think of all the long car trips going up to my grandparents' house and just staring at the window and like just seeing this beauty, the beautiful scenery of everything that was around from the beach to the like, down here in Maryland, we're right next to the water too. So it's like you get to see sand, hills, dunes, all these types of things that really kind of stick out into your mind when you might be able to put in that CD and listen to that song again.
Yeah, I mean, that's like kind of one of my favorite things was, making mixtapes on audio cassette and listening to them on, road trips when, my parents would be driving up front and me and my brother would be in the back with our, separate headphones and Walkmans on and just, kind of immersing ourselves into music.
I think the best part about music is like if you're wearing headphones and you're listening to it, you can go incredibly deep into your thoughts and start discovering stuff about yourself that you really never knew was there.
Yeah, yeah, about a year and a half ago, I started going on long walks, and I wasn't much of a person to really do that. And I would just put on my headphones and just kind of walk for like 3 or 4 miles and just sort of like discover parts of my town that I didn't know were there, and just listen to music. If I download a new record, I would listen to that on the walk. Podcasts, phone conversations with friends, and definitely the thing you just said about getting like deep into your thoughts is like it's very like meditative for me
Well, it's like
to
the
do.
same thing where a lot of bands and people start falling short when it goes to like writer's block or something. It's because they're dealing with something emotionally or inside of themselves that, they're not really, I guess, focusing on. When you're taking a walk or taking a stroll outside, listening to a good song, you're listening to the song, but really you're inside of your own head as well. And you're really trying to discover stuff about yourself that can actually, you know, end up being used as maybe a song lyric. I mean, I don't know how many times I'll be driving down a road or something, listening to a really good song or something, and then next thing I know, I'm like, I need to pull over the car so I can write this shit down before I forget it.
Oh, I know that. I have like notes set up on my phone for like quick lyrics that I think of. Like if I'm in a movie theater, if I'm walking, and I just like stop what I'm doing, pull it out, and quickly write it down.
Are you trying to turn this into like what you want to do for the rest of your life? Like, be a professional musician, or you want to turn towards more of starting a record label? I know a lot of bands like Slightly Stupid, for instance, Stupid Records. They were signed on to Sublime's label at one point, and then they ended up adopting other bands, being able to help them out and have them sign on to their label.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I mean, I would love to make this my full time gig, and I would love to like run or work for a record label. Um, I think it's sort of the path of figuring that out and kind of how to do that. Um, and it's like I don't know if the future is really necessarily in record labels. Is it in the streaming services like Spotify or let's say Apple Music? But I mean, I definitely music is my passion. So I love being involved with it. I love helping other bands out. I like bouncing ideas off friends. So I mean, it's something that I know no matter what path I take, it'll always be a part of what I do. There's just like no way around it.
What typical ideas do you try and bounce off your friends? Like, are they ideas for like merch? Are they ideas for new songs?
More so in like the management sense of like merch or how to promote something or let's try to hit up this person and get you on a playlist. Why don't you hook up with this company or why don't you write this person and see if they'll kind of do a cross promotion or something like that. So it's more just kind of like I like to think a bit outside the box on that kind of stuff and kind of see what can be accomplished.
See, that's interesting because usually when you talk to like a band member, that's like the one thing that they really hate doing is doing the promotions and setting up the gigs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing that stuff. I mean, I'm not so much. I mean, Protagonist. We used to book shows in South Florida, and I mean, I think we all really liked it, but I mean, it's pretty taxing. I mean, it's just like no way around it. It's taxing.
How do you typically try and market your band, for instance? Like I know hot sauce companies and these giant like, it's like books, for instance, are the same thing when it comes to the front page, being able to grab people's attention. What do you do with music? Do you just try and be able to, I guess, play your sound somewhere? Back in the day, it was like try and call into a radio station to get your song played.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hit up, people have playlists on, if they list their contact or whatever on Spotify, or I'll directly like search for them on Facebook and reach out to them. I mean, I will, I have a pretty good relationship with different sites that cover music and cover punk rock, so pretty blessed in that sense of trying to get stuff out there. I mean, there's a lot of great websites and a lot of great blogs. It doesn't have to be on Rolling Stone to get heard.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be captured in the social media. Like you need to kind of learn how to navigate that as well, like getting followers and getting more attention for your band. I mean, it's just difficult because like we talk about people loading up Spotify in their car. With a CD, you had 12 songs or something that would just go and randomize, but you would listen to those things and then you would pop in another one or you go get another CD and do whatever. Now it's like you're on Spotify, you have so many songs to listen to, but you stick to the ones you like, the ones you know, and you don't want to listen to anything new. A lot of people are that way, where it's like, I just want to listen to this one song over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's like, you're not really doing, I guess, yourself a service because you might end up coming across a band like yours, in instance, where you listen to it and you're like, holy shit, these guys are really good.
I'm trying to think. That happened to me recently, but I like to listen to a lot of like synth wave and retro wave is what they call it. The kind of almost like '80s dance pop stuff, but that's of course current. And I stumbled across this artist named Jesse Fry, who's like a singer out of I think Denton, Texas, and just became like enamored with her music and her style. She started putting out singles every few months. I think she has a song dropping Friday with Ali. I forget. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ali Wide from FM 84, and definitely recommend checking her out. I got to see her when she was on tour with FM 84 at the Sinclair in Cambridge, and that was probably definitely one of the highlight concerts of last year for sure.
Well, even in like introductions and stuff too, like the opening bands, that was basically how you figured out what bands were good or not. You hear someone's new style or something, like, holy shit, these guys are amazing. Usually people brought bands that, hit around their same style. Like I went to go see G Love and Special Sauce, and the opening band before that was a rap band where I was like, this doesn't fit the narrative of what it kind of the vibe for G Love is. But then like the
Yeah,
next band was like a blues band where it was just a dude rocking the shit out of a harmonica, dude. Like I I immediately bought a CD and started listening to them. Like it was just amazing to kind of see that. And I think that's a big thing about concert venues and stuff, why you pick an opener, why you pick all these things. Not just to warm up the audience, but also kind of set the vibe and the tone. Everyone thinks that like, oh, it's the main line one is the most important. Okay, yes, that's kind of what everybody's there for. But at the same time, the opening is probably the most crucial part because if you fucking bomb right in the beginning before the actual band comes on, then the whole crowd's in a pissed off mood.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like there's so many bands I've seen as opening bands that become favorite bands because you're there to see that headliner, and then you know you kind of don't know what to expect, and then sometimes you're blown away, and sometimes you're like, oh, it's what me and my friend call the hot dog break. If there's like a band playing at a concert where we're just like, I'm not into this, we're like, let's go get a hot dog. Whether there's hot dogs are there or not, that's just what we say.
What would you say is the biggest trouble that you've kind of faced with just managing bands or having your band in the first place?
I mean, I think figuring out how to monetize it has probably been a big challenge. I think I've definitely help bands get out there, but I think it's a kind of a different game figuring out how to really like make money off of that. And I mean, for me and Protagonist, it's never been a concern of like I need to make money off this. It's always just because like we just sort of have to do it, you know? It's kind of in us to do it. So that's always like a challenge, you know?
It's just so difficult, like, monetization, I know we kinda talked about it a lot, but, like, it was so much easier back in the day. Now it's just a little bit difficult, like, you gotta learn the tricks, you gotta hire someone to get you Instagram followers, you gotta do all these other types of things, like, why can't I just, like, pull out, like, I don't know, plug my phone in the car, turn the stereo all the way up, roll the windows down, and just set my car in the middle of the street and just have everybody listen to it in the neighborhood.
Yeah, another thing that you kind of bring to mind from talking about opening bands is back in the day when you used to grab compilations, specifically in the punk rock world, you pick up like a punk comp, like remember there was those Warp Tour comps, and like I feel like every record label had comps with tons of bands on it, and I always thought that was like the best way to discover new music.
Well, it's like we had in my town of Ocean City, we had like 4 concert venues playing at once. Like it was 4 stages and stuff. And I know Firefly was doing that. They had multiple stages up and everything. And it was like like, I get it because 'cause you're having a lot of people there and it's a giant event, and it's pretty cool because then you could just go to maybe a band you've never heard of before, but a lot of the lineups weren't really set for every single audience. Like, if you looked at the last Firefly lineup was, like, a bunch of bands that were all, like, hardcore rap and all these other things. I remember seeing, like, tons and tons of Facebook posts of people just complaining about it, like, "Oh, this is a trash lineup. This is this." They had, like, the major ones, like maybe Snoop Dogg or something that you would see, but it's not really fit for everybody. Like if you're going to do a festival like that, the best part is like being able to get a wide variety of music. Maybe throw a couple country, maybe throw blues in there, maybe throw whatever in there because it's interesting to listen to. I mean, if you're trying to get to a certain band, it's just fun the whole build up towards it. It's like trying to play a video game and you're working your ass off to get to the ending prize and then all that work seems worth it when you finally get the prize.
Yeah, I mean, do you go to many music festivals now? Like,
Honestly, I've only been to a few concerts. I really try and kind of stay away from it a little bit, mostly just because I don't know. It was never like a big thing for me. It was so normalized, like we were talking about before. It was just so normal to me to be able to go whenever I wanted and get tickets to something and everything. Like, yeah, it's cool to go out on your own for the first couple times, but eventually it's like I could just listen to it at home. That's what makes it difficult with a concert too, because money plays a giant factor. Work plays a giant factor. Mostly people are too tired to go out and enjoy a good concert. And if they do, it's like, can we wrap this concert up early? I got to get home. I got work tomorrow. It's like, well, shit, then you're not really enjoying it anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure the whole audience genre in general, when it comes to going to concerts and crowds that you've probably seen, it's changed a little bit from like back in the day where everyone would load up, like spend nights and nights and nights, like camped out just to get front row or something. Now it's like, I could see it on YouTube. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you're missing the whole experience out. You're not getting hit in the head with a beer bottle on YouTube.
that's for sure. I mean, I've seen a lot of people really bummed out that I mean, coronavirus is, wiping out all these tours. It looks like maybe even through the summer. My best friend Brian, who is also a guitar player and Protagonist, he tours with bands, and right now he is like yeah, stage tech for Dashboard Confessional and the band Young the Giant, and like all their tours just got canceled for the next few months. So a lot of people I know that are in that world, as far as in bands on tour or working for bands that are on tour, are like kind of fucked right now. You know what I mean? I mean, I feel like a lot. I mean, now I think it's hitting more than just those industries. It's sort of hitting the collective public. But
Well,
it's
it's
definitely an interesting time for sure. You know what I mean?
it's a song you should make called "Blown Out of Proportion" because that's literally what it is. We with this virus thing, it's funny because everyone's overreacting. I think, in my opinion, I don't think it's as bad as everyone says. Yeah, you might get sick or something, but it's going to happen anyway. Like we've had restaurants down here close, basically every local business close, but you keep a fucking hair salon open. It does not make any sense because that's like the main thing you don't want to do is have your hands near someone's face. That was the whole
Yep.
contamination type thing. But we're keeping those open. We're keeping things like Walmart open because people still need to get groceries. Fast foods places are still staying open. It's like this is where the contamination is going to be primarily, not some fucking toy shop, not some gym, not some this. Gym I can kind of get only because of the whole germ factor, but it's like wipe down your shit. I don't know. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, everybody is freaking out. Like, this is going to be the next big thing. And I do think it's a bit of a conspiracy now that I start thinking about it, of how like amazing Netflix shows released this month. And now this is all like perfect timing. And we go into these panic buys. I mean, this happened when Hurricane Sandy came. Everybody was so worried that they were going to, it was going to be the end of the world or something. It's like, this is turning into like Y2K. Like, that's literally what it is right now, is everybody panic buying, getting bags of beef jerky. Like, I walked down the cereal aisle, and you know what was left on the shelves?
What?
Healthy cereal. That was the
Yep.
weirdest fucking thing I have ever seen. I was like, they took the Lucky Charms, they took all the sugar shit that's really bad for you. You think you want something sustainable. Like, if the world does end, get some Raisin Bran, because you're going to need your fiber.
Yep.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's gonna get pretty bad, honestly. I think at first it was kind of like a couple weeks, and I think this is going to be the new norm for like a few months, and I think the government is going to have to, you know, take a heavy hand in sort of bailing out the people, not like the fucking banks and not Wall Street, but like the American people.
Yeah, like
So we'll see if that actually happens. But
in the state of Maryland, they're talking about people getting $1,000 for their mortgage and everything, like being able to do all this. I mean, the whole stock market just basically went completely down. Everybody's talking about pulling money out of the bank, thinking the banks are going to close forever. The only good part about this whole thing is gas is fucking cheap as hell right now.
yeah, what's gas near you right now?
$2.
Damn.
It was like almost three, and then this all started happening, and people are like, "Oh, well, nobody's leaving the house really anymore." But it's insane. I believe people just need to kind of it's gonna pass, It's not gonna be something that's gonna wipe us completely out. And if it does, perfect. I've been waiting for a zombie apocalypse. I've been waiting for it.
Are you prepared for a zombie apocalypse?
See, that's a tough question, because I always ask people, like, are you prepared for a zombie apocalypse and what's your plan? Because we all have one, right? That plan fucking changes when I say, what happens if it's not those types of zombies? You're like, what do you mean if it's not those types of zombies? I'm like, you're thinking Walking Dead. What happens if it's World War Z? What happens if it's Left 4 Dead? What happens if the bitches can swim? You have no clue what's going to happen at that point. Your whole plan gets thrown out of whack.
Yeah, I mean, last night I was sitting here, I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I think we were kind of getting in each other's heads about like how bad this could get. And I started looking around my room, and I was like, okay, I could use that dresser to like block that window, and like
I could
I
take
could use
that
this as a
brick and throw it
makeshift
at my
weapon.
neighbor. Yeah, I could take that brick and throw it at my neighbor. I know if I can, stick a fork in a toaster nearby some zombies, some people are getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
That's when people
So
become resourceful, is when a zombie apocalypse gets thrown in, because nobody knows what they're going to be doing for the future, but everybody has a plan for the fucking zombie apocalypse.
yeah, it's pretty it's pretty wild.
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I'm more worried about that than what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. I'm more worried about the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, being like horror movies are one of my favorite things. So it's like I feel like, I haven't been preparing for this since The Walking Dead came out. Like I've been preparing for this since I saw like the Tom Savini remake of Night of the Living Dead,
We've been
and the
being
Lucio Fulci
trained.
zombie movies and
Yeah,
the
we've
Italian horror films.
we've been being trained from the very beginning when they first introduced zombies to us. Now this is all just perfect method plan to survival.
Yep.
Beef
So
jerky in a bomb shelter. That's what the answer is to the coronavirus and everything.
beef jerky. No, hey, I'm actually out of both right now. So
Better stock up, bro. There's
I
barely
know
any
I
left
got
on
to
the
get
shelf.
on it.
Dude, I've been eating tuna for 20 something years. Nobody has ever bought tuna in like enough to where there's no more left. Now every time I go in the store, that's everything that's gone is the tuna. And I'm like, what the hell? Did everyone just decide to eat healthy? But I can't really believe it because all the other sugar shit's gone.
Yeah, well, I think they're washing the tuna down with frosted flakes.
Man, it's a perfect meal, I guess, if you're 20 years old and stoned. Well, Peter, I really appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast, man. I want to give you here a minute at the end to be able to promote your band, promote anything you want to promote.
Yeah, check out Protagonist on Instagram, which is at Protagonist FL. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/protagonist. We have a release coming out April 10th called Fallout from the Chronicle, which will be some like basically well, I guess what you would call B-sides, but I don't really consider them B-sides. Some covers and acoustic tracks, and that'll be on Paper and Plastic, which is Vinny Fiorello, formerly of Less Than Jake and Fueled by Ramen fame's record label. So definitely check that out. And yeah, we hope to see you soon next time we go on tour and come through your town. So feel free to hit us up and look out for some new music hitting your ears soon.
I'll be the antagonist.
We'll do that split.